So it's time for questions, and you all know the drill. We have mics here and a mic in the balcony. And remember what Pastor said, the question, the question.
You get that.
Thank you. Where you at? Okay.
Describe how your critique of the president differs from that of your peer, Dr. Cornel West. It appears that black people have shown an angle towards Dr. West that they haven't shown towards you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that's a heck of a thing. Well, the reason they ain't showing no hate toward me because I ain't hating. That's number one. I'll tell you the critical difference. West asked me himself. Let me just put it on the front street. We were in Chicago a few years back, and West goes, you know, you're just as critical of Obama as I am, but people ain't hating on you. I said, well, first of all, he was my mentor at Princeton. He has since poured his hatred on me, too. Called me a sellout, handkerchief head, on the Obama plantation, and so on. I'm a grown man. I try not to fire back, but please don't read my book. It's pretty deep. So I said, well, Doc, first of all, I said, you've got to understand, I always, with Obama, begin in love. I said, even strategically, it's critical to begin with affirmation of what is positive. Even when I grade my students' papers, I don't start with the negative first. I start with the one sentence in that paper that holds up under scrutiny. Here on the 5th page, in the 2nd paragraph, in the middle, this sentence is powerful. Now, if you could make the rest of the paper just like that, we'd be good. And then I sit down and I help them. This is what a thesis statement is. This is what you can argue in the scope of a 12 to 15 page paper. These are the ideas that you might want to broach, and so on. So I told Wes, I begin with love. Because I said, actually, I love the man. I can't speak for you. I said, I have genuine love for what he represents. And pride as a black person. I ain't stupid. I'm proud too. That's number one. I said, number two, I said, I believe in the 6th inning theory of baseball. Now, in baseball, if it starts raining and it's in the 3rd inning, they're going to suspend the game, right? But if it's after 6th inning and it's raining, whoever is ahead is going to win the game. I'm not starting with Obama. I'm going to start with all the people hating on Obama. And I'm going to start with where me and Obama agree. And I'm going to start with all the great stuff he's doing, because in case it starts raining and we can't say nothing else, whoever is ahead going to win. And I do want the brother to win, right? But since most games don't end in the 6th inning, I said I then, after beginning with areas of common agreement, I begin to extrapolate from those and then to explicate my disagreement. I said, thirdly, I don't do personal assaults, sir. I said, what are you doing? Calling him a mascot of Wall Street, a black, well, slow down with that, sir. Why do you have to personally assault him? Just because you disagree with me, you ain't got to call nobody no names. And I finally said to him, I said, you've got to understand he is still the president, so you have to have a level of respect for this guy, even if you disagree, like you saw me today. I start with love. I recognize what we agree together. I talk about what the white folk doing to me, talk about all that stuff, and then I tell you what I disagree with. Now, if you hate on me, you a hater yourself. Or you just so blind, and you're a sycophant, and you worship at the altar or something, you got to check your own relationship to God. I can't help you on that. But don't be calling me no hater, because I disagree. I have honest disagreement, and I voted for him and was a surrogate for him and knew how to spell his name and pronounce it when y'all were calling him Barack Obama. So I hope the reason black people don't hate me, because they say, you know what, I might disagree with that Negro, but he ain't disrespectful, and he ain't nasty with it. Now, there's some people on Twitter, if you just mention them, but a whisper of criticism is a hurricane of hate. So I can't deal with the black Twitterati on that. But the masses of black people understand. And the difference is that people, I think and hope, understand that mine is not personally motivated, it's not nasty, it's not vicious, it's principled criticism that we should have for anybody who is in a position of authority. Thank you so much for that question. Over here? Okay.
Hi, my name is Nia. I wanted to just ask you a little bit about, I take and agree with the point about how the president speaks to black communities, and it's been problematic for a while now. But in terms of the policies and programs, I wonder if you would speak a little about the notion of programs that are targeted without being named as such. So,
Right.
for example, I think my opinion is that a lot of things the president has done have disproportionately benefited black people in terms of education, justice, economics, and targeting our lowest performing schools and setting forth the pre-K, the choice neighborhoods, promise neighborhoods, so they are disproportionately beneficial to black communities, but are not called the black choice neighborhoods. Increasing black attendance or improving black educational performance. And so I wonder your thoughts on targeted without being labeled.
Yes, ma'am. No, that's a great point. That's what the White House often says, too. What you just said. I mean, they do. And look, I agree with them on some of that stuff. Pell Grants. Look, I had another interview. Me and Obama in the White House, in the Oval Office. Well, it wasn't by ourselves. Valerie was there. She always there. So he defended the universal programs, right? Because I asked him directly, I said, what about this rising tide lift all boat? Because like I said, I'm not going to lie to you and be on TV and you know who I am and I'm defending, I'm criticizing you, I can't tell you to your face. So he says, look, I'll give as good as I get on that. He says, I'll let you do the numbers. What about the Pell Grants? We know that overwhelmingly black people benefit from Pell Grants. And this is what I meant in part by the commercial. Do you want the commercial or do you want the substance? So your point is, we don't want the commercial, we want the substance. But here's the problem with that, right? When you don't end up targeting, you take care of some of the other stuff. The same thing Colin Powell told me. I remember me, Colin Powell, and Chris Rock were at the Janet Jackson concert. I can't even tell you the half. I cannot tell you the half. And trust me when I tell you Colin Powell's a brother too. Okay, woohoo. He says, Professor, he says, you have a role to play and you do that well and blah, blah, blah. He says, but I make arguments that are for the entire group, but they disproportionately help black people. So I get that argument. And in some cases, that is absolutely right about Obama. But in the major cases of what harms us, not true. Two things. First of all, the person who inspired that in large part is William Julius Wilson, who was a sociologist, University of Chicago, now at Harvard, university professor. He wrote a piece, I think in the 90s, about race-neutral policies in the Democratic Party. Because the reason race-neutral has to come into power, let's give Obama credit, because white folk ain't gonna vote for nothing that says Negro. That's what he told me that day when Tom Jordan was trying to Jones on me. And he was like, if I say black, 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 I said, dude, I'm with you on that. You ain't got to say black, 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 because you can mean something, not say it. I'm with all of that. The problem is, William Julius Wilson said that no longer works, because if you don't target high rates of unemployment, the universal in general ain't gonna work. Because look at it now. Let's test Obama's philosophy. What's the state of black America right now by every major index? Over-incarceration, still deep. We are worse now, 6 years into Obama's president, by every major indicator than we were when he started. Sorry, I'm just talking about if we're gonna deal with the facts. Unemployment has not precipitously declined, maybe by a half a percentage point, right? Because we were at 16 first, now we're down to 13. Okay, Malcolm X says, you can't stick a knife in my back 9 inches, pull it out 3 inches and call that progress. Right? Okay. So black unemployment has been stunning. The segregation of work in America is stunning. You have to call that out. You can't just have policies that don't address the particular effect and stigma of disparate treatment in the judicial system. And look at the expulsion of black students. What policies can you put in place to say we don't want to expel disproportionate numbers of black people? A general policy would be don't put people out for. But black people suffer disproportionately under that. You've got to name it. Obama talked about the other day, what did he talk about, State of the Union? The middle class. Wait a minute, is that all classes? Is that targeted? Yeah, but it's targeted in an acceptable fashion, right? When Hillary Clinton speaks about if you help women, you help the world. See, Obama to me has it backwards. He thinks if you help the world, you help black people. No, 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 no. Help the most vulnerable. And when you help the most vulnerable, everybody else get hooked up, right? Now, this is what I would argue. You might disagree. What I'm saying to you, if he would help the most vulnerable member of the society, then everybody else gets the hookup, right? So targeting and universal, it should be both and, is what I'm arguing. I'm saying that the disproportionate benefit of black people from Pell Grants or other policies that Obama puts in place, undeniable. But the persistence of problems over space and time mandate a particular address to those specific issues, right? You know how black people say when they pray, don't put me in the duty-bound box? Pray for me by name. Because everybody ain't got my affliction. So pray for my affliction. Now, Obama's not God. He ain't Jesus. But as president, and look at this. We didn't say this to other presidents. This is what amazes me. We didn't let other presidents off, hey, Ronald Reagan is doing things to help the entire economy. They also help black people. I'm not sure if that's true. Bill Clinton, right, did. But Bill Clinton hurt black people. While we felt good about him, he played the saxophone on Arsenio Hall. He did point a lot more black people than Obama has. Let's give him credit on that now. In the White, oh yes, many more. He had 7. Obama's got like, what, up to now 4. A Holder, and then he tried to upgrade on some. Like Susan Rice. Okay, now you trying to fudge on that a little bit. You know, got Anthony Fox in, cool. You got my man, what's the congressman? Mel Watt for the housing, all right. But, you know, Bush got 2 secretaries of state. 2! I mean, you let George Bush? Now, at some point, here's the damage of what Obama does too. You're letting white folk believe we just can't find none. If you can't find none, you know darn well they can't find none. Right? How you messing us up like that? But George Bush found more than you, and so did Bill Clinton. But here's the problem. The specific unyielding problems that black people face in aggregate who are poorer. You and I, as middle-class black people, we're going to be good. Upper middle-class black people are going to be good. The people who suffer are people in the lower middle class and people who are black and poor. Those are the people who do. So we could disagree about that, but I think targeting is important along with the universal project. Yes, ma'am, in the middle.
So kind of building on her question, but maybe from a different arena or the analysis or criticism, what are some real and practical suggestions, solutions, action steps, especially with respect to the Supreme Court decisions of the recent, you know, I don't know, 4 years or so, because I'm thinking back to the presidential election cycle. And then what are the core and fundamental issues or concerns one should consider when trying to be forward-looking in terms of civil rights, voting rights 2.0, 3.0, especially in terms of Michael Brown and Ferguson? And then just for perspective or background, I'm more of an MC Breed, ain't no future in your frontin' kind of person.
MC3 what?
Ain't no future in your frontin' kind of person.
Right, okay, thank you. That's good, MC Breed, yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah, I'll take another 2 hours to respond to those questions. That's great stuff right there. You know, you're making a brilliant point. What we talking about specifically? Look, Obama's got smart people out here who are making arguments about what you can do to help black unemployment. How about the Congressional Black Caucus that said you can address black unemployment by talking about the jobs? This is back to the sister's point about in terms of universal. About the areas. I was with the Congressional Black Caucus when they were trying to make an argument to the president, at least through a press conference, that if you target these black communities disproportionately that are impacted by certain job bills, right? And we know the president can't even get a job bills through the darn Congress, so we can't be blaming him for what the legislation can't get passed. But he's got a couple things at his disposal. Executive orders that might be highly sensitive to and structured around the needs of African-American poor people who are in jobs where they're working 2 and 3 jobs at some points. The Congressional Black Caucus was trying to make an argument for regional-based, where we know disproportionate numbers of black people exist, regional-based economic palliatives that would restore some kind of financial discipline and order to their particular regions that would disproportionately help black people. So you get both and. You'd get the universal argument there, and you'd get the policies that help black people. When you talk about what's happening in the justice system, since you mentioned that, look at what Eric Holder did to find out what the president might do. This is what Eric Holder said. Oh, okay. The Supreme Court has judged that the Voting Rights Act in fundamental form is intact, but not the protections against having to pre-clear and check in with the Justice Department before you change the voting practices of local municipalities. We know that's messed up because black folk are always on the bad end of that, right? They tell us that the election's on Sunday when it's really on Tuesday. You know, they have the equivalent of what might be considered a poll tax, right? All the kind of difficult stuff, all the hoops we got to go through, and then the voter ID. It was all right to vote with my ID for George Bush, but not for Barack Obama. You know, so we know what's up here. What did Eric Holder do? He said, I'll change from, okay, if we can't do the pre-clearance on 4 and 5, I'll change it to number 2, the second provision there. In other words, his imaginative numericality, because black people do know how to play the numbers, Eric Holder figured out a way to try to protect us under provision 2. Where there's a will, there's a way. And all I'm saying about Obama, again, because I know it's hard for black people to entertain any criticism. Jesus. Just, and here's the irony, on our behalf. It's on our behalf. And a guy, you ever liked a girl a little bit better than she liked you? Okay, maybe I'm speaking for myself. I liked a girl, and I liked her a little bit more than she liked me. And that's our deal with Obama. So now he doesn't have the motivation. Because when somebody like you more than you like them, you don't really, you laying back. I ain't got to really bring her no flowers and no candy. I ain't got to pick her up and open her door when she gets in the car or stand up when she leaves. She's so into me, I just chill. Hey, baby, this is what I need. Bring this over here for me. Then she buying dinner. Then you going half. It's half her dough today, half her dough tomorrow. So I'm saying, as an analogy, Obama is not motivated to find creative ways. Let me give another example about what specifically can be done in terms of not only public policy that I've mentioned, executive orders, and then the regional base for voting, for economic rehabilitation. Look at the fact that when Marcia Fudge sent a letter to Obama, wait a minute now, in your second term, you said you like diversity. White women wrote in, what did they get? Some more women added. Did he have more Negroes? No, because presidents don't do stuff unless you make them do stuff. So we ain't gonna hate on Obama. That's just how all presidents are. You don't ask them, they ain't giving. Because they got so much they got to do, they ain't trying to give up their authority. But we know, this is what black people assume. Well, you black, we assume you black, you know what? No, that's not how it works. Because there's a penalty he pays for even being perceived as recognizing black people. But you take heat for everything else. You take heat for ISIS. You take heat for the economy. You take heat for what you're doing in Iraq. You take heat for what you do when you don't show up in France. Why don't you take some heat for us? That's all we're saying. You're going to take heat, as the black people say, irregardless. You're going to take heat, irregardless. So Marcia Fudge wrote him a letter. Marcia Fudge is a great woman. She says, where is the black diversity? Guess what happened afterward? Who got appointed? Mel Watt, Anthony Fox. You don't ask, you don't get. What did James say in the Bible? You have not for ye. That's all I'm saying. So y'all want to go against your own biblical intuition in light of this. So I think those are some of the things we can do on a practical level that the president can do on a practical policy level, in terms of executive order level, and in terms of having the ambition to really reshape public policy and use the bully pulpit to talk about our issues. Those are some of the things I think can happen. Over here to the right.
My name is Mike Tucker. If you would, please prophesy for us on these two social dynamics, intraracial. What might the world and what might the black community look like if two things were to happen? One of the things that bothers me like crazy is somebody trying to tell me how to be black. And the second thing is personal responsibility. There are black folks who do need to step up and do what they're supposed to do. What might the world be like if those two dynamics were addressed?
Yeah, great point, as all these questions have been. Look, You know, black folk trying to tell other black folk how to be black is a black thing, right? Right? Because you don't like my brand of blackness. So that's why I was very careful when I said I might disagree with Clarence Thomas. He's still a black man. I ain't trying to challenge your blackness. I'm just trying to challenge your common sense. You can stay black until you die. That don't impress me. That means I can't ultimately judge you based on your blackness. I got to judge you based on what you're doing good. Because there may be some white folk out here who hooking black people up, taking care of business, and we got to love them, right? Brad Pitt might be trying to fund black movies. Love you, right? Might adopt some black babies too, okay. So my point is that black people, we're so vicious and it's so hurtful. And the reason we're so invested in determining who's really black or not is because it has been used against us. Let's not pretend we don't know. There's some black folk who've gotten up there and sold us out. We do know this. They get up in a position of authority and then they lose our name. That's why to refer to Beyonce again as often as possible. When Beyonce says, say my name. Say what's wrong? Say my name, right? You were saying it last night. What, you with your girl now? You can't call don't call me Hunt. What's my name? Right? Beyonce all on his mouth like liquor. Sneezed on the beat and the beat got sicker. So my point is this. Say my name. Who am I? What am I to you? Black people know that sometimes black folk get up in high positions and forget us. So let's not pretend that. But trying to tell us how to be black, come on, Doc. It's a million ways to be black. It's a number, you know what? As many black people as there are, that's how many black ways we can be black. Huh? Well, Negroes don't scuba dive. Yeah, there's some black people who scuba dive. Black people don't ski. Black ski weekend. Black people don't go to the Kentucky Derby. Negroes there. Black people don't swim. Negroes on the swim team. Black people don't ice skate. Yes, they are. Black people don't play hockey. A couple Negroes do. So my point is, what it means to be black is don't tell me how to be black. Let me do what I want to do. But there is something to be said for even as you explore it, even Obama himself said it in his book. He said there's some biracial people, you know, he said the problem is they don't even want to recognize their black side. They'll talk about everything else. I'm an Indian and I'm this and I'm that, but Negro, nah, not so much. So we give Obama credit because he understood that in America you a black person. Halle Berry's mama the same way. Halle Berry's white mama told her, you black. That's her white mama. Her white mama said, in this country, ain't nobody gonna mistake you for Gwyneth Paltrow. Right? You black. This is why we try to tell Tiger Woods, my man, love him. Ain't nobody gonna mistake you for nothing. They don't even think you Thai. Your mama tied you up, your daddy blacked you up. They not. But when that racist golfer said, whatever them people eat, he didn't say no Mugu Gai Pan. And that ain't even Thai. Right? He said, don't bring no chicken or greens or whatever, you people. He wasn't talking about Thai. So here's my point. There's an objective consideration, and then there's an internal one. And we talk about blackness, you know, there's intentional blackness, there's incidental blackness, and, you know, then there's the blackness that avoids blackness. You know what I'm saying? So I just happen to be a Negro, but I do this. All right, cool. I'm the president. I just happen to be black. I got it. I ain't no black president. I'm a black president. See, the adjective modifies the noun. I'm a black president. So that's what he was trying to tell Negro. Look, I ain't the president of the NAACP. I'm the president of America. We got that. Black president means that you're going to limit him based upon that. He's rooted in but not restricted by his blackness. And that's what you're asking. See, you know, black people, how come you ain't teaching at Howard? Howard ain't invited me. Negro. I ain't got an invitation to teach there. Do they know my name? Oh, you famous and rich now. When I was poor and broke, they didn't ask me to teach there. And I love Howard. I go to Howard every year, 3-4 times. My point is this, is that there are a number of ways to be black. I'm a spy in the mission at Georgetown. Why you calling me out? I'm Valerie Plaming up in here. I'm undercover. I'm trying to sway their kids. I'm trying to make them know what it means to be a Negro. Stop. Stop. Now, let me ask this, and we got to get all of them. I got to be quiet. So, when it comes to interracial, of course, you know what? Black people always believe in responsibility. Now, I know there's some ain't, but can I tell you something? I teach white kids. Do you think irresponsibility is a black thing? Please. White folk got all kind of creative ways. My computer broke, my stuff dog. Look, I'm not a racist. I know that irresponsibility is not a black thing. It's not a Latino thing. It's a human thing. So why exaggerate our pathologies and you ain't talking about the other ones? That's why I say it's horrible for Obama to keep talking about ours like they ain't got none. Like everybody got them. Yes, Negroes, some of us are lazy. I know plenty of lazy white people. I grade their papers. I tell them that repetition is the key to advance. Repeat that grade or that class. And I encourage them to do better. And they're my kids, and they're white. So don't tell me about black irresponsibility. Now, should we be responsible? Heck yeah. And do we owe it to each other to hold each other to an account? Yes, we do. But isn't it interesting? Barack Obama goes around talking about responsibility, but then if we talk about responsibility to him, it's a problem. And I ain't talking about him, I'm talking about y'all, us y'all. We the ones talking about responsibility. We did the same thing with Bill Cosby. No, he right. He right what he's saying. Okay. Okay, he's right. But responsibility is based upon advantage, where we are politically and socially, and how we can ask everybody to be responsible. America ain't even responsible for reparations yet. But they want everybody else to be responsible. I'm saying, let's put that in a context. So I think both and, not either or. We go back to the top.
Thank you. You answered my question
Okay.
several times. However, I did not want to sit down without thanking you on behalf of everyone. I'm speaking for everyone. Thank you so much for this educational opportunity.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. Thank you, baby. 12 o'clock. Oh, I'm good. I mean, if we got, if we can go on, I'll answer every question that people send up now, and then we'll cut it down. And I'll be shorter. Yes, sir. Stay up top. All right, stay up top. Up top.
Okay. This is in terms of leadership. In post-civil rights America, we have gone from a foundation of Dr. King to an obsession with Beyonce and Jay-Z. So.
Yeah, I hate those people. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
So
it's ridiculous.
Well, my question is, why are Beyonce and Jay-Z the spokesperson or the spokespeople for the entire black conscious, and why are we obsessed with them?
When they asked Michelle Obama who she wanted to be, who did she say? Beyonce. I'm just putting that out there for you to think about, right? You're making a brilliant point. Here's the problem. It is true, even though I would think that Obama's still out there, I don't think they turn to Jay-Z as much as they turn to Obama. Let's be real. Or to other people. But there is something to be said for celebrity, because everybody wants people to speak out. Look at Harry Belafonte, how important he was. Now, if they were doing what we want them to do, we wouldn't be questioning it. We'd be going like, yo, you're the bomb. Right? If everybody was like LeBron James, Hoodie, Trayvon Martin, tweeted out, it's difficult in this day and era for celebrities to have any social conscience. The reason we want celebrities to have social conscience, not simply because they brand themselves, and part of the difficulty, as you've said, or at least you implied, let me say it explicitly, is that we've gone from social conscience to social service. NBA cares. NFL cares. That ain't the same as speaking out against injustice. That ain't the same as Hank Aaron talking about white supremacy and economic inequality and racism against black people. So you going to the hospital to visit somebody is enormously important, but it's not as brave and courageous as you using your platform like Richard Sherman to speak up and speak out. But if you look at the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, when they asked Nicki Minaj about that, she said, look at what they did to Kanye. Now, don't act like you don't know that if it's your bottom line. We asking people to do stuff that even our own jobs we won't do. We won't even sacrifice for our own little $50, $60, $70, $80,000 because we ain't got much money. So we ain't going to sacrifice, but we want people in the top echelons to sacrifice. But look at what happened to Kanye. He crazy. He's dumb. Even the president called him a jack, you know? So the point is that it is extremely difficult for these people who we hold in high esteem to also articulate visions of social transformation. Look at the Selma movie. Harry Belafonte said he can get Sammy Davis Jr. It ain't just started now. They always want black people who are famous and other celebrities to join our group and our crowd to help us publicize what we're doing. It didn't just start now. So Jay-Z and Beyonce are part of a long tradition. Now, you know, do we turn to Justin Bieber to ask him his opinion on stuff? No. Do we turn to Miley Cyrus? Twerk, 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 Miley. Twerk, 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 Miley. No, we don't. So there's something specific about black celebrity. There's an extra burden. And the burden is we come from a people who have not historically been recognized. Now, to flip the script to what you said, of course we don't want to then quarantine our concern about social justice to celebrities. I happen to teach a class on Jay-Z, and in teaching a class on Jay-Z, there's a lot more to the politics about Jay-Z than people give him credit for. Back when, the police were Al-Qaeda to black men. Oh, so he ain't necessarily doing it in public ways that you can identify him with in speaking out against, even though he's increasingly done that, certain forms of injustice. His music is rife with serious political resistance to dominant mainstream culture. So the reason I look to a Jay-Z and to Nas and to Tupac is because sometimes they say stuff braver than the black pulpit will. Sometimes they're able to articulate values and visions that challenge the dominant culture. Maybe Lupe will be more critical of Barack Obama than others tend to be. So it's a both and. We both criticize black celebrities for not getting involved, and then when they do get involved, we talk about the reduction of our struggle to them. I think it's a both and, not either or moment, but we can't miss the reduction of social conscience and the social service, which has undermined the capacity and willingness of people to sacrifice their bottom line in order to embrace a publicly controversial issue. Even one as simple as identifying with your own people who are being murdered. I mean, Nicki Minaj in that Rolling Stone says, I mean, what are you supposed to do? Your people getting murdered and killed and shot by the police, and we're supposed to be silent? So ask yourself that question, and ask yourself, how brave are you even where you are? And if you understand how difficult it is for you to be brave, imagine if you had something for real at stake. I ain't saying what you ain't got at stake ain't real, because it's what you got that's real to you. But I'm saying people with millions and millions. Why don't Oprah's make it? Why don't, right? Think about what that might mean. Think about the president who refuses, always with excuses. For people talking about not making excuses, get many of them made for you. Think about what that might mean, though, and what's at stake, and the difference that your speaking out might make. That's why we think Martin Luther King Jr. is so brave. That's why we think Muhammad Ali is so brave. That's why we think Harry Belafonte is so brave. That's why we think Ella Baker is so brave, because despite the consequences, they spoke out. Very few people who are like that. Yes, celebrity is critical, but we also have to put it in context, criticize it, but at the same time talk about how we sway it to become influential in about something more than record sales and the bottom line. All right? Yes, over here. Yes, sir.
Dr. Dyson, I'd like to ask a quick question about the particular racism problem in America. So in America, the different nationalities of Europeans became white here in America. Yes. And there was an order. And the Italians, Irish, Jews entered into that last. There was an order. Barack Obama is black because we here in America say anyone with the skin tone, as you talked about, from Mariah Carey to Malik Yoka, we're black. But for him, his father was around just long enough to make him and to be a slight influence in his life. But in his early years, he was raised in one of the whitest states of America, Kansas. We all go to Hawaii, but in his developmental years, he was raised by his white grandparents, working class people working in the factories, rednecks. Could Barack Obama...
In the scare quotes.
So they're raised by rednecks. So my question is, do you think it would be beneficial for Barack Obama to talk about his whiteness and with what you're going to write about in your next book, how black people have legitimate pain with racism, but you were talking about white people. It seemed to me you were saying they don't have legitimate pain with losing power. So if he talked to them about, look, I understand what it's like to lose power. I was raised by rednecks. It's not a white man's world anymore.
Right.
He's a blend.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant, man, and that's deep. No, he could never get away with that. But you're he can sing some country music, and it's a brilliant point in so many ways, Doc. And it's brilliant in the sense that, and I do address this in the book, of course, because black people don't tend to see ethnicity within race. We see it with ethnicity in race when it comes to white folk. But there's ethnicity and race when it comes to black people too, because being from the Caribbean and Africa is different from being from Georgia. All right? I ain't even got time to break that down. Half the students getting into elite institutions like where you went, like where your wife went, like where I went, like where a lot of people up in there went, are African and Caribbean. Now that's number one. Now a lot of them be slighting up on our stuff too. Let's be real with it. We like bean pies from the Muslims. We like the jerk chicken from the Caribbean, you know what I'm saying? And the lilting cadence and the brilliance of oratory and education and the contribution to culture. But there's some hate going on up in there too. You're talking about intraracial. Like, why don't you black people stand up? Because if you come from a black nation, even if it's 15 people, but y'all black, and the person who was the president was black, you got 15 people in your nation, but it's all black. You don't hate the president because he's black. You hate him because he's a jerk. You get to be transracial because the people you like and the people you don't like happen to be the same color. So color's ruled out. So you come to America acting like it's the same thing. It ain't, dog. Your nation got 20 people. I'm not mad. We got more than that in the hood in my crib. But I'm not mad. Okay, I'm sounding a little bit mad. I'm not mad. But I'm saying, so don't come here taking advantage of affirmative action to get in, because your black butt wouldn't get in without the work these dumb Negroes that you might not like did. Rafiki Wakuumba, you Nigerian and Ghanaian and speaking, I'm glad about it, but you know what? We just Negroes and them other ends in America. So you take advantage of the advance we have made to get access to use your perch to dog us. There's some of that in Obama. Let's be real. Part of that is immigrant blackness. Because you touched on some real complicated stuff in your question. Here's another part of it. Yeah, you talk about your daddy just there long enough to make you, as you so eloquently phrased it, but your mama left you too. How you end up with your grandparents? That's the equivalent of the black woman going to the club, leaving her baby with the babysitter. I know it's hard to say, but your white mama was getting a PhD around the world while you at the crib. Now, what's the paradigm for that? What's the language for that? Don't let that be a black woman. You abandon your kid and blah, 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 right? Sarah Palin's baby having a baby. It's all good. Don't let Sasha Malia show up. Don't let them show up, right? You know the story. So my point is, there's some immigrant blackness in Obama that is quite questionable. And when you add that to the fact that his consciousness is white, literally, this is not an assault. Your point is, we got to remember that. He's raised by people in Kansas. Now, if we grade him on that curve, he a real brother, like for real. Like, oh, yeah, we forgot you was raised by some white folk and stuff, so we just grateful for the overshot. We grateful for the overhang. You know, the stuff, but like many white people, you enact blackness without engaging blackness. So part of it is absolutely right. It's a complicated story. He says, though, in Selma, remember in 2007, don't tell me this ain't my story. Don't tell me these ain't my people. Don't tell me Selma ain't my story. I'm the Joshua generation. Well, study with Dr. Judy a little bit. Joshua has some responsibilities too. It wasn't just Moses. He says, Moses is king and Jesse and all them. I'm part of the Joshua generation. Who told the children of Israel to go back and get a stone for a monument? That's Joshua. So if you're going to be Joshua, dude, you got some responsibilities on the Joshua tip. I know Reverend Dr. Otis Moss Jr. gave you that, and he's a brilliant homiletician, but you got to work on the complicated hermeneutical implications of that interpretive paradigm. You got to work with it. So my point is you got to engage in some interpretive warfare, hermeneutical warfare. So my point is hermeneutic is just a big word for interpretation. You're absolutely right. Obama's got whiteness in many ways that he's got to war against, and that has made him insensitive to and unconscious of certain elements within the culture, but he takes full advantage of that blackness. On the other hand, he had to learn some stuff about blackness that black people can take for granted who don't have to learn it when they're born black. So when you biracial, you got to learn your way up into blackness. You might read more than Negroes who think they just know it because they is it. Like they come to my class, you know, in my hood, Negro, did you read page 15 of Du Bois? I'm not asking you about what you learned in your hood and what your mama and daddy did. I want you to bring that into class, but the white boy's kicking your butt because he read 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19. And he's talking about Du Bois's conception of dual consciousness and doubling and what it does with a kind of psychic, religious, and racial doppelganger. You up there talking about, my hood, and I was black. This is the greatest effect of racism. It makes us think we don't have to study our own culture. Huh? You know what racism makes you believe? You ain't worthy of study. I am 56 years old. There's some stuff I'm just not learning. Blackness is deep, profound, complex, complicated. Don't get mad when people come in telling your story because they study your history because they took it more seriously than you did. And some biracial people read Obama's narrative, his memoir. He said he was talking about a dude, but you ain't read Malcolm X. Nah, nigga, I don't need to read Malcolm X. I know what it is to be black. Okay. But Malcolm had something to say that you ought to pay attention to. And just because you born black don't know you know black. This ain't no ontological osmosis. All the knowledge of blackness, come to me, come to me, come to me. Now I know everything. No, you got to read and write. You got to study. You got to look at slavery. You got to look at the Chesapeake Bay versus what went on in, South Carolina. You got to look at all the complicated stuff. So to answer your question, yes, it would be better if he could do that and acknowledge that. But for him to acknowledge that would be to acknowledge the degree to which race is not a biological construct. It's a social reality that has been imprinted on the minds and the hearts of many people. So yes, to answer your question, it would be better if he could do that, but he can't. But we should. But the problem is we should not be ignorant, and we should do that at the same time. Great point, Doc.